So, parenting tip number 45 is really important, and I think one of the hardest lessons to learn. I don't play sports, I don't play games, even baby shower games, because of my fear of failure. And it sounds really silly, but I just never liked to fail until I became a parent. And then you realize that feeling like a failure, I think, is part of being a mom. And what I've learned is that facing and experiencing failure is the key ingredient to success. Doing these parent videos, doing newspaper interviews promoting my book, sometimes just putting myself out there is really scary. And it's not so much fear of failure, but a lot of us, I think, have fear of being judged and fear of just, not being able to succeed, which is a fear of failure. So if your child, a lot of kids end up crying. I have kids who are 8 years old who cry when they can't figure out a math problem. Or I give them a brain game and they, some of the brain games say fail, but it's just because that you don't do the exercise within a certain time frame and they'll cry. And I have to really encourage them to like failure, which we never do, but just change your mindset and tell yourself and teach your child that every time they fail, they are building resilience and they are preparing themselves for success. Because if you don't fail, oftentimes you will minimize the chances to succeed. And so I read that some of the colleges, they don't want to hear success stories. They don't want to hear about the high GPAs. Yes, I mean, does it matter? I've heard from a lot of counselors and even college counselors that they want to see how resilient kids are. So some of these essays include questions like, how did you overcome failure? Describe an experience where you failed and you learned the most valuable lesson, which is resilience, or maybe they learned that they could have overcome failure, and maybe the fourth time that they tried something, then they succeeded. I don't know if many of you know John F. Kennedy Jr. He failed the bar 3 times, and being part of the Kennedy family, he had shared that he really was depressed and felt like a total failure because a lot of people pass the bar exam to become an attorney the first try, or maybe the second try. But to be part of the Kennedy family and to fail the bar exam 3 times, or actually, I think he passed the third time. But, whatever it is, I think if we judge ourselves on the number of successes we have or the number, count the failures that we have, it's going to be a hard, hard journey called life. So, as I record this, Chelsea's going to take her road test to get her driver's license tomorrow. And yeah, we all hope that she passes, but if she fails, I, as a mother, have to, be prepared to see that failure or show her that that failure does not mean that she's a failure. And it's easy to say that, right? You tried your best, you got the F, but you know that you tried. But sometimes, if we don't try our best and we fail, how does that impact their confidence level and even their mindset, right? If you do not study for a test and you fail, a lot of times students feel like they're a failure, but they're not a failure just because they earned an F. Maybe they studied the wrong things, or maybe they didn't study at all. But teaching our kids the value and the most powerful lesson in the world is to learn how to fail and not to take it personally. So, as parents, whenever you see your kids fail, maybe they have a D on their test or they get an F on the report card. I know a dad who actually said he wants to see an occasional F on his child's report card. And I was just shocked because his wife didn't share the same, desire, right? But I understood why, because he knows and he believes that if the child can handle seeing an F on his report card, he will be able to handle the possible rejections, right? Are you going to get every job that you apply for? No. What happens if you lose? A lot of people have lost their jobs. Does it affect their mindset, and do they feel incompetent because they got fired for whatever reason? And so this is where I think parenting tip number 44 can be one of the most powerful parenting tips if you teach your children from a young age that failure is a part of life and no one is exempt from failing. And that is parenting tip number 44. Thank you for watching. Bye.